So we are live. You're watching me try to contact Diedra. She just dropped the call, and I'm not sure what happened. It was fine until we were about to go live. So I'll just talk a little bit until we get her back on. And there she is. Okay, so we are live. Welcome, Diedra. I am saying Diedra. Yeah, I am saying your name properly. I think the issue is that with the accent mark. And with the fact that I'm between cultures and languages, I'm learning Croatian, and then generally the the European pronunciation of the vowels and things is like so. Is always e is always in Croatian,
even with an accent.
And then there is no accent on vowels in Croatian language. It's a for a, for e for I. And then O for O, and then U for U. And there is no Y, or they call it Ypsilon. There is no Y in Croatian language, but the J has a Y sound. So then with your name, it was, let's say typically in English, it would be like Diedra. You know what I mean? That's the simplest form of a similar name, let's say. And then I understand the accent from Spanish. And then you're doing the typically European pronunciation for the letter I, like D. So Diedra. But then I say R automatically because R is always R in Croatian. So every time I go to your name, something gives me a mindfuck. So I wanted you to know it actually wasn't a deliberate thing. And then when you wrote it out phonetically in the Command Z, in the Zoom, then I could make fun of that because yes, it's phonetically correct in an American system of phonetics, but again, it would be D-R-U-H would be Diedruch, and you'd pronounce the H. Huh. So Diedruch.
Sure, and I didn't write it out phonetically like it would have been done in a dictionary. So.
Right. So it's a fun thing. It's been a fun, mispronunciation, but it was never meant in disrespect. Almost always in jest, and jest toward myself first.
I know, and it was just the other members in the group were starting to call me and pronounce it the same way. So that was when I was like, okay, wait a minute. Garrett is one thing, but not all of y'all.
Right, and I think the part would be the upside down E with the smiley face or the smile.
Yes, it would have been.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then I think then the young people won't know what the hell. What is the E back or the upside down E with a smiley face? So
exactly, right, exactly. Oh my goodness!
You're forever lost to have your name mispronounced.
That's all right. In the Gaelic, it's Deirdre, and it means deep sorrow, of all things. So I have a French accent mark over my E to make that E a long
French,
E.
okay.
Diedra.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Diedra. Okay. Cool. So now we have it, and it's for the world. Now the whole world can know
Thank you.
how to pronounce it correctly. Okay, so welcome to the live stream. It's nice to see you.
Thank you.
And I just want to start. You can tell folks, I guess, tell people a little bit before we get into the Command Z stuff specifically. Just tell us about your work with clients and all this. Like, what is it you do? Because I don't think I have I know you do massage basically, but I want to know more deeply, like what kind of stuff do you practice with people?
Sure. So at this point, I have a private healing arts practice, and I've been in practice for 24 years.
Ooh, wow.
My main focus was massage therapy from a structural integration perspective.
Like Rolfing, kind of. Is that...
Rolfing, yes. So I fell in love with a second generation Rolfing body of work called Aston Kinetics. Judith Aston studied with Ida Rolf in the 70s, and from her dancing background, created the movement segment of the Rolfing work so people could take their newly Rolfed bodies and take that with them into the world.
Beautiful. So that's an important connection, right?
Yeah. Oh, huge. The movement piece is kind of everything to be able to reintegrate that work and call it back when you need it. So I've had the privilege of studying directly with Judith Aston, and had a mentor here for 20 years, personal one-on-one mentor for this work. I also have I bring in neuromuscular therapy and some energy type works, craniosacral therapy that works with the.
Craniosacral's fascinating. Yeah.
Oh, it's amazing work, and it is literally the movement of the sacrum and the cranium together as the pumping mechanism that moves the fluid up and down the spinal cord. The fluid moves up the cord, it bathes the brain, it comes back down, and it passes through these channel locks along the way. And the channel locks happen to correspond roughly in the same area as the chakra system. Like there's all these different languages to kind of explain the map of the body.
We're gonna censor that word now. Chakras not allowed. Okay. On
oh, great.
You know, I'm messing with you, but I have to. But I have to put it like I have to always put a little thing in there because I force myself to explain things only in physical experiential terminology, and then I know there's an argument people will make. Okay, you can experience the chakra words, whatever. Blah, blah, blah. But also, I would wager to guess that even if for people who deeply have an awareness of that stuff, that it, for the lay person, tends to spin people off into a million different fantasy lands, you know, and because of its association with metaphysical and mystical seeking, I find it easier just to stick with physical terminology. If we say, okay, feel your forehead, there's no chance of a person getting lost if we say forehead, if we say neck, if we say, you know what I mean? I'm playing with you,
so
but at the same time, you know.
You're right, I see. Yeah, there are correspondences in polarity therapy and traditional Chinese medicine and the Ayurvedic system also. So the craniosacral work is kind of like I think a Western language description of some of those other modalities.
Yeah, sure. But like, yeah, you're able to, the way you're describing it in the Western terms and in purely physical terms, I think it just leaves less room for people to get lost into, get drawn into their mind, you know.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Fair enough. So over this time, let's see, we had the lockdown 3 years ago that, you know, the government kind of declared my entire industry as non-essential and shut us all down.
But meanwhile, you could buy alcohol and prostitutes and whatever else you want. Yeah, nice.
Right, but you couldn't buy paint to go paint your house up in Gretchen Whitmer's country. You know, it's like, okay, that was a really crazy time. And so at that point, I learned that with a minister's license, I could lay hands on people. So I acquired my minister's license, right? And operated as a healing arts minister rather than a massage therapist. Beautiful, yeah. Then the Supreme Court ruled the government can't touch the churches and blah, 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 blah. So here we are. Thank God, yeah. Right? So I think I discovered you kind of in the midst of that lockdown time.
Oh, interesting. Wow.
Right? So that's when the undoing work came into my life, and I had time to do the 28-day intensive, right? Okay. And yeah.
It was really that long ago?
Yeah. It was probably, the second year into the lockdown. Second year into 2 weeks to flatten the curve.
Wow, I didn't realize it was that long ago. I was thinking it was like 6 months ago or something. Wow.
Oh, no. Okay. So we could go into the group and look back at the videos, at the date stamp on the videos that I did for that training. But yeah.
Mind blowing.
Yeah.
Okay, so I remember when you did the intensives, and I think I'm going to remake. Those intensives are excellent, but I think I'm going to redo it at least one more time, completely from the ground up, and then I'll make available the original intensives, which are totally different, completely different, and really hardcore. It's actually advanced. No one should start with that first intensives. You can start with the second intensives, the ones that you did, and then I made like 2.5 or something, which I removed theater of the mind and put in silent presence in its place, which I think was better.
Okay.
So when you were doing it, I think it was silent prayer, silent presence, right? At the beginning and end of the day.
Yeah.
So that's a pretty solid ride, I'd say.
Yeah,
And then I'll make
it
a
was
new
phenomenal.
one again. But yeah, awesome.
Okay, cool.
So yeah, just share, please. Just speak freely. Like what got you? I guess what got you, attracted to this world of radical undoing. What was some of your experiences within it, and then and then we'll get to like you sharing the stuff with your clients and that kind of thing after. Yeah.
So that the hook that pulled me into the Summerland Academy for mutant evolution and training.
That's right.
You threw out some post about like, if you really want to learn how to do tarot, right? Come and check out this. So it was something to do with tarot, and I'm like, I had just started kind of playing around with the tarot cards, and I'm like, okay, sure. What does this guy have? So that's what got me into the Summerland Academy, and there's nothing about tarot in there at all whatsoever.
I know. I think I was kind of like
waiting for that part.
It was like,
what?
Well, that was kind of like before I got deep into orthodoxy, so I probably wouldn't promote that anymore. Yeah. There's things I'd need to discuss with some, people deeper in the church than I am. But I never had an understanding of the tarot as a magical tool or for fortune telling or for predicting the future. I have used it as a tool. Right, but then that begs the question of transformation from what into what. So I still now even hesitate with those words, I'm kind of, and this is just me, not putting this restriction on you or anyone else, but
sure.
I'm focusing almost primarily on, and your internet's kind of coming and going, just so you know. I don't know if moving somewhere helps or what, but
okay, yeah, okay. Well,
no worries,
I would have to move to a whole different room. Okay,
well, whatever. Well, hopefully it stays. But yeah, so yeah, now I would say I would promote mostly undoing the chronic tensions and unraveling the lies and the suffering of the mind.
Yes.
And undoing
and that's what I stepped into.
Worldviews, right? Right.
Yes.
So if I were to do something with cards, yeah. Anyway, yeah. Please.
In undoing incoherent worldviews, it was like, oh well, tarot means nothing. Right. From my experience in the work, coming through the work.
Yeah.
Okay, that was it.
So please continue. Yeah. So Summerland, and then what happened?
Summerland. So yeah, there was like an introduction. There was a free introduction bit of work, and I did that. And then there was an offering to take the 28-day intensive. And at first, the 28-day intensive was like a little cost prohibitive. It was like, oh my goodness, that's a big investment. And then I realized that this work was going to be the investment that I needed. And wow, thank you so much. I mean, I threw out, well, hey, let's make this payment plan. And you're like, sure. Then I had this whole thing I had to go through, right? So I was going to your bank here stateside to be able to make a deposit. The bank's refusing to accept cash. I had to like go and get a money order and then I don't know. It was just a whole initiation just to even get to the training. Wow, okay, this better be worth it. So it's definitely been worth it.
Awesome. That's really cool. Really cool to hear. And yeah, I know it's steep. And the reason I accepted the payment plan from you, which I don't normally do, was because you did actually complete the 12 days of training in there, the 12 days of free training, those challenges, which, I'd say 5%, maybe 5% of people, maybe even less percent than that, ever actually do them. And then even of those who do them, they don't go live in the group, which is like something to me that's like a non-issue. But I've realized since that it's like people will skip the whole training because they don't want to go live,
Right.
And the going live,
it's so powerful to go live. That's the thing. That's the next initiation, if you will, or the next step to like overcoming a thing, is to go live in the group.
Yeah, and everyone who
Didn't mean
does
to cut you
that,
off there.
then no, it's fine. And everyone who does that, everyone who completed that and does the lives for 12 days in a row, I know that they're going to be able to do the intensive, and that they'll do the exercises in there, that they'll go through resistance day after day after day after day. That's what's required. Otherwise, why even do it?
Right.
And then the work that's in the intensives is reflective of 15 years, or maybe more like 20 years of my own struggling and seeking and failing and falling and all of this, and then cleaning up everything that I went through and trying to reverse engineer only the most effective and most, let's say, clean. And when I say clean, I mean not lodged in magical thinking, or not lost in where there's no pitfalls that people could go off and run away with, or that they could get lost in. There's just the undoing, just the breaking apart of the tensions, just the clarification of the worldview, and then keeping the mind and the body in the same place. And then from there, the truth will reveal itself. The truth never went anywhere. It's that we have a bunch of other things in the way of it. So
yes.
Right.
So you're peeling the layers of the onion.
Undo the false. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, for sure. Cool. No, the work is really powerful.
That's awesome. Share whatever you'd like about your experience with that, and then we'll get to you sharing it with your clients, which I think is super cool.
So let's see. I've done lots of self-improvement, find yourself, heal the bullshit type work over the course of my lifetime. I'm 52, and 24 years in the healing arts field. So I've had the opportunity to explore a lot of different kinds of trainings. The Landmark Forum, and which previously was EST, and some of those types of works. This blows them all out of the water, just by the way.
Whoa, that's crazy. What a compliment.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So grateful for this work coming into my life at the time that it did. So getting to how I'm using this in my work with my clients. So particularly like just a simple twist of face. And I love that turn of phrase, right?
Isn't that fun?
Yeah. So much of our attention is held up in our jaw, and all the things that we want to say that we can't say, or that we hold back, and we bite our tongue, and it like gets lodged in our jaw, held as tension. And then that tension built up over time, just it comes up as agitation or stress, and we're operating in the world with this clenched jaw, kind of gnashing of teeth experience in the tension. So many of my clients coming in, we just start like with a simple twist of face, right? And it's hilarious, cool, right? To sit down with somebody in person and just like start stretching your face. And, it's fantastic. It creates a laughing thing. It knocks off a bunch of tension just in that first 5 minutes. So being able to bring this stuff into my work is awesome. It's like doing the work with the physical labor of it.
That's so super cool. Oh, your internet's coming and going. If you can, maybe turn off the video. Let's see if the audio feed if there's enough bandwidth just for audio. Because what you're saying is great stuff here.
Okay, how's that? Okay, let's see. And so I can actually go into another part of the house if we don't need my background to look nice.
No, don't worry. You might look at my background. It's ridiculous. It's just a mirror.
Okay. Yeah, I'll go get closer to my internet source. All right.
Cool.
So I've also recently completed my training to become a colonic irrigation therapist. And for those that don't know what that is, it's gravity-fed water that is very gently introduced into the colon to get behind the blockages. And then it is very conveniently drained out down right into the sewer, right? It's a closed system. So being able to take this work with the face stretches and combine that with the colonics work really helps people just relax and let go of their shit. Like literally, just let it go.
Yeah, isn't that
So
fascinating? Yes,
powerful. So
it's to do
powerful.
with like the vagus nerve and all that stuff too. Yeah, just
Yes.
doing the face, and no matter how much you tell them to relax, it's like there's not going to be a bridge from the words through the mind back into the body. It's like there's not. That's the whole key. How do you get across that bridge? It's and when people are trapped in the world of words, it's almost impossible. But you can give instructions for the physical exercise, and if they do it, now you've actually bridged that gap.
Yes.
You know, isn't that crazy? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's amazing.
Yeah.
So yeah, I love having this in my work. So we had talked, I had asked you the question about like, do you have a system or a setup for training teachers of this work?
Yeah, and I do. I've trained
Okay.
two people like on a more professional level, and then I did train two other folks, but it was just more like just sharing the work with people I was close to, you know.
Hmm. Hmm.
So I haven't verified what they're doing with it, but two guys I have, and they're amazing. I think I should still create a certificate for them. I need to do that, but they're even on the website, you know, and I gave them emails and stuff like that. So they're
Okay.
working with
All
clients in
right.
person. Yeah. But you and I, we can talk
Okay.
privately about the details of that. But
Sure.
yeah, that would be great. Yeah.
Sure.
And I
Yeah.
was going to create a whole system around it, but I think it's actually best for me to do the teacher training one-on-one or in small groups still, because I would make it completely personalized based on what you're going to use it for. And,
Sure.
you know, we'd go organically and then week by week check in and see what needs to be worked on. Maybe
Sure.
over the years I'll
Yeah,
find a
that's,
way of making it, you know, pre-recorded, but it probably should still pass from person to person, you know.
I think so too. That whole industrial strength, commercial grade sort of trainings, I really avoid those. I prefer to learn in a mentor based kind of environment. You get more. It's like
Yeah.
the laying on of hands ordination sacrament, right? It's like it needs to come from
Totally.
one person to another. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly. It does. It does. And I'll warn you, or maybe you'll be excited in advance though. Like there were certain moments, even like one of the training days was I had them watch a very specific episode of South Park, and then analyze, you know, some of the characters involved in it and the situations involved in it. Or we looked at a very specific video by the competitive eater LA Beast, where he failed at one challenge he gave himself, and then later he actually succeeded at the exact same challenge. But I had them analyze like what was the exact moment that he was able to succeed with this challenge. How did you spot it in the video? You know, this kind of stuff.
That
So
was awesome. And the training though, the training, the intensive, the 28-day intensive, and having like these random assignments of watch this particular and specific episode of The Mentalist
yeah,
and look for these cues or look for this thing or just share what you grokked out of that.
yeah,
Yeah, those just talk about interrupting like patterns and interrupting status quo thought systems that don't work, breaking up the tensions in the mind, just imagination tensions.
yeah.
It's
There's
like wow.
tons of them. I
Right.
mean, like with this work,
uh,
person would get into like, okay, all my training has to be this serious and rigid thing, and here's step one, here's step two,
yeah.
and so many people, and rightfully so, probably have categorized TV as kind of an evil thing. I agree generally, but the fact is that it's here, and that's not a great argument. But let's just say that even if we got rid of TV now, I know ways to make use of all the time and emotional investment we have made into watching these shows and movies and stories and books. There are ways to reclaim the power that you've put into there and ways to redeem the amount of time that we have dedicated to watching television. And that's
Yeah.
like the fake Tai Chi and that kind of thing. But yeah, it's available. We can make use of it right now. And you must know, if you have a client who's depressed, no matter if you have the gold standard of physical exercises to give them that heal depression, they're not going to do it. They're just not, because that's the nature of depression, is that if they could get up and do exercises that are going to help them feel better, then they wouldn't be classified as depressed anymore. You see?
Right.
It's an
exactly.
inability to be able to do those things that will make you feel better.
Right.
And then the deeper aspect is because as soon as you do start to feel better, you're confronted with the anxiety that you're resisting by going back into depression. So the solutions, so we use tricks, imagination tricks, like okay, you can't get out of bed, binge watch The Mentalist and pretend you're like a little, remember how you watched movies when you were a little kid? You're the mentalist while you watch, and start to just and explore the difference between his mindset and the mindset of all the other people on the show. Yeah. And they'll come out of it. They'll start to see like, oh man, what am I doing to myself? So you can get, and it's active watching versus passive consumption. One you're being dominated by what you're watching, you're being influenced, and the other one you're actually taking back from that. You're actually actively consuming, and then having a better mindset. It will get you out of bed, basically.
Sure.
Let's put it that way.
So in the middle of the training, like a whole bunch of my life just like fell apart. Just like,
thank God for that. Yeah.
Right. I was like, oh no. So being able to like have access to you directly and say, okay, well, this thing just happened. And, I'm like, I'm jumping up and down and laughing and it's not doing shit for me, Yeah. And then to have an exercise that's like, that matches the frequency of my nervous system in that moment. Right. And I think that's what you're talking about, like the depression, and let's find the activity that's going to match the frequency of your nervous system.
Yeah.
In that moment. Here's the thing that I love about this work. So up until this work, the thing that had worked best for me was EMDR, and that's eye movement desensitization and reorganization. And you move your eyes back and forth at different rhythms. And what that does is it brings your nervous system, kind of matches it to your body. So then both halves of your brain can balance, and then it kind of like can interrupt a trauma response or a panic or one of those types of things. And then the next thing I found that was even close to EMDR for nervous system regulation was motorcycle riding. And then that does it in the opposite, right? It brings your body up to the vibration of your nervous system. And so then both halves of your brain can balance and you get off the bike and it's all bliss and euphoria.
Wow, that's interesting.
Right. So inside this work, we've got these exercises or actions to take, steps to take that can balance your body and your nervous system together for that kind of regulation. And then it's all on. Then it's like, oh yeah, the practice queen of infinite space, right? It's like, oh yes, I've got this. I'm going to Costco and I will dominate this line.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah. So yeah, that's I love the practice of this work.
Beautiful. Thank you. Yeah, it's a nice reminder for me as well, to hear this kind of feedback. And and like I said, I'm thinking of kind of reorganizing my effort around helping people like yourself. Number one, I like working with you. You do the exercises, you explore them, you move through resistance, you didn't quit when the times were really, really, really difficult. And now you're reaping kind of the more, let's say, even-keeled results, because even the bliss or euphoria isn't the goal. But it will occur. It will occur sometimes, and it fills the tank, let's say, to be able to persist through the darker moments.
Exactly.
But the goal isn't something that you can really put into one emotional experience. It's more a stabilization of the entirety of your inner landscape, for lack of a better term.
Yes.
And a grounding of your awareness into the location that the body is. And from there, something actually spiritual might begin. And of course, for me, that's grounded completely within the Orthodox Church. So I'm where I find it's completely safe and protected by these boundaries. And the worldview is 100% coherent. Everything in existence is explained by the presuppositions that are there within within Orthodoxy. But to even get to the place where you can get your body and mind into a church and experience the goodness of what that is, we got to undo all these other incoherencies and false narratives that we've been sold, and then that create tension in the body, and then whatever traumatic experiences people have had around church or Christ or religion generally, and then the lies they tell themselves in their mind about it. So we've got to actually undo these physical tensions and somehow get the mind back into the same place as the body. Otherwise, from my perspective, it's trapped. Our awareness is trapped in a world made of words and abstractions and ideas, and people are reacting to those words and ideas as if they're more real than reality itself.
Yes.
So in there, you could have Bible, you could have a million books, you could have anything that sounds good, and that's how you get these influencers with millions of followers, because their stuff sounds good. Jay Shetty or something, he just takes whatever quotes he wants from other people, steals them as his own, and then talks with like a mild Indian accent, and everyone just starts drooling over it. But no one stops to think, like, is there something in this I can apply to my life somewhere? And no one cares, because they're looking to feel better in that world of the mind, in the world of interpretations. So in a sense, it puts people back to sleep so that they're not confronted with the conflict of being lost in the mind and then the world of the body somehow interfering that. So some kind of pain or some kind of so-called anxiety or intense life experience brings the mind back to where the body is. And then psychology, psychiatry, and pharmaceuticals are the go-to. We've been trained to make that the go-to. The second you become aware of your body, because now it's with some kind of pain, then run off to some expert who will give you a pill, either a physical pill or a metaphoric pill of talk therapy, of some kind of religious study or pursuit, or some kind of Jordan Peterson, hours and hours and hours long kind of talk that gets you thinking you're achieving something, So whereas undoing will bring you into direct confrontation with whatever it is that's making you tense and making you walled off and armored against life. And but your mind will then be there with the body and see, hey, actually, there's no physical threats here. Like in your case, you mentioned some stuff going on with family, and you're having these struggles and these challenges, but then correct me wherever I'm wrong, you're then confronted with, like, actually, there's nothing really going wrong here except people are feeling different levels of intensity, and there's actually nothing.
And
taking
I mean? Actions to avoid that intensity. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So this work brings you face to face with it, but then you realize there's not actually any threat here. Maybe I don't want things to go this way. Maybe I don't want to feel this intensity or this upset, but my guess is since then a lot of things have smoothed out for you, even though you might not get exactly what you want. Is that correct?
Yes, and even though they haven't smoothed out inside the container of the relationship, my reaction to what's happened with the relationship has smoothed out. It's like, okay, well, if it's God's will, really, it's all God's will. So there's no point in being upset about it or holding on to that tension or clenching my teeth or holding on to heartache about it. Right?
Yeah. That's so beautiful. Yeah. Because then it's not that everything in life is going to go smooth. And I don't think that's even desirable on some level.
Right.
And there's nuances to all these words, but your inner peace isn't dependent on anything that anyone else does or the world going a certain way. You know what I mean? That's
right.
It can't be, or it's not even peace. Then what is it? It's just some conditional. When things are okay, I feel pretty good. Well, fuck, isn't that everyone?
Yes. Yes, absolutely. When things are okay, I feel pretty good. Yeah. Okay. Good. So what else do you want to know about? I guess the application of this work in my private practice with my clients.
So you mentioned using the simple twist of face with people. I mean, that would probably be my first instruction for folks that I would teach who are practitioners is to first get familiar with that exercise yourself. Do it 2-3 times a day, every day, so you know what it is and you don't feel ashamed when you're going to introduce it to other people. But then also, probably that shoulders.
Oh, the elevated shoulders. Yeah, shoulders and
shrug,
the laughter and the flops. Yeah. That acronym of self, right? It's like here's a self-care practice for you to do. It's literally the twist a face and elevate your shoulders and laugh and flop. And even if you could just do one round of those, it can really switch the chemistry.
Yeah, definitely. The SELF. That's a great one. Yeah. So it was
simple twist of face.
Simple twist of face. Elevate shoulders, laughing breath, and flops. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the one I put up.
Self-care.
That's available on the YouTube there in the self-care, or if we're talking Christian worldview, then self-denial. Meaning you're gonna not only deny yourself the and both are true from a different perspective, but the self-denial in the sense of you're going to also not just deny yourself, don't eat everything at the buffet. Don't jump into every one of your passions. Deny yourself some of these things to enhance the struggle and to deepen your faith, but also deny yourself despair and hopelessness, which are also demonic, which are evil. Despair and hopelessness are counter to faith as well.
Right.
We're not talking about, like being on ecstasy all the time as being the goal, but also not just constant depressiveness and darkness and gloom, and shame. We don't want those either. We don't want the guilt and shame to be dominating. We don't want despair and hopelessness to be dominating. So we're going to deny those also by doing those exercises. What we want is clarity and presence. And not some new age idea of presence, but actual presence in painful states, in charged states, in happy states, in sad states. Presence is the same in all those states,
Right. I liken it to having an expanded bandwidth, a nervous system expansion to be able to roll with whatever gets thrown at you at any time.
Yeah.
I'm
the
really looking
expanded
forward to the
bandwidth
evolution of this work as you grow. As you bring in these more the Christian language and Christian concepts and kind of Christ into this work. I'm looking forward to the evolution. Like, this is exciting stuff.
Awesome. Yeah. Thank you very much. And God bless all of us, Lord have mercy for sure. And I'm very careful to not just, I see a lot of practitioners from New Age stuff, they'll become aware of Christianity or something like this, and then they just change the language and they're still doing the exact same thing. For me, it happened the opposite way. I had tons of clients, like a huge number of clients, come to me after not working with them for a long time, and they had found orthodoxy. And that's how I started looking deeper into it, because I was like, what is this? Like, what is the connection? How does this work? And that's why I've just, generally, I just got more strict about the terminology I would use. And no reliance on any Eastern systems. And like I said, I even don't recommend Hyatt's work straight out of the gate, simply because it's there's so much nuance there and so much decoration with and influence from his earlier time with the occult practices and all that kind of stuff. And what people don't know is, in person, he would never allow anyone to start spouting off a bunch of these words about the occult. And it was obvious that the people had no understanding or experience with what they were talking about, that they're just lost in the world of words. And my opinion is, towards the end of his life, he rejected almost all of that stuff and promoted strictly the body work. But because of his audience was built from all his previous work and involved in the occult, he couldn't really escape that audience. And in a way, that was
he's got a huge body of work out there. Yeah. He has a huge body of work out there. And then once you start exploring Hyatt, then you run into Robert Anton Wilson and Israel Regardie. And It's huge. The
Yeah.
the ocean of info out there that's
Yeah.
all connected around
And
this.
the issue, like I said, the issue with it is that his work by the end, he was just pushing the body work and was not pushing the
Okay.
occult work anymore, as far as I'm
Hmm.
concerned. And so, if a person is starting, and then just some functional aspects of that are that he didn't have the ease of streaming video. So when I went and worked with him in person, then he could adjust what I'm doing very rapidly. And I started to understand, and I had the DVDs even, working from these DVDs, but I was videoing and audio recording my sessions and then watching them over to correct myself and then writing him emails or asking on the phone, okay, with face, am I supposed to do it like this? Am I supposed to do it like that? With shoulders, is it like
Okay.
this? Is it like that? All these nuanced
Hmm.
details. And then I went to massage school for 2 years to learn kinesiology and physiology and all this stuff. And because I needed to understand the body better. And then I worked with all different body types, all different people in person, generally for free for the first few years because I would just work with whoever I could get my hands on. Even right off the street sometimes. I worked with all kinds of crazy people. But just to learn how the body works and mainly how to give instructions that people could actually follow. Since then, I can reverse engineer physical exercises from books, but that was like a 10-year effort that it took me to get to that place. And I
Okay.
had, a book collection of 3,000 books or something at some point, most of which were just total garbage. Authors who were copying from another author, from a faulty translation of something. And once I
Hmm.
got in
Hmm.
deep with the undoing, I could tell as Lance, one of my clients, would say, my bullshit detector was activated, and I could tell from the first few pages of a book, like, okay, this is nonsense.
Okay.
Even the premise on which it's based is nonsense. But then there's a few, like I studied some books about Alexander technique, and I was able to use that, but only
Hmm.
because I could get out of my head and I knew how to translate written instructions into a physical exercise and to know where I was making errors and how to correct those errors. And that comes from reading the instructions over and over again. Every time you're going to do the practice, then you do the practice,
Hmm.
then read the instructions again, then do the practice, then read the instructions again, and over and over and over. And then you can start to see, I see why he mentions do this or adjust this little change. It also happened in rock climbing, like sometimes you turn your toe like that on a hold on the rocks and suddenly all your power is there to be able to go to climb up.
Hmm.
But
Hmm.
it's almost impossible without having an instructor there with you, or at least on video for some amount of time, and then you can start to learn how to activate what's in books. But if you're reading a book or a system and there's no experimental aspect of it, it's like the book might as well be useless. Sometimes worse than useless, because it'll convince your mind. In the seeking world, the books will convince you that other people are making results, which sometimes they aren't. Sometimes there's no one making that stuff work, and it's
Right.
just selling books. Or if they are
Right.
getting results, you don't know how or why, but your mind will start to create an ideal to live up to based on whatever's in the book, and then we're taught that whoever wrote book has authority and that they're telling the truth. So you get this seeker kind of sickness where they've read a ton of books and then they have a subconscious set of ideals that they're trying to live up to, and it's creating tension in the body and static in the mind because they're feeling always like they're not good enough. And also
Hmm.
a
Hmm.
belief, a hidden belief that everybody else can make this work, but I can't. So I'm a real loser. So
Right.
that's kind of the danger with the
Right.
seeking over time. Yeah.
Okay. Right. Yeah. Right. Coming from being a seeker, right? It's like,
Yeah. Yeah.
oh yeah, of course, yeah. All right. So
I
I
don't know
am
how we
gonna have to
strayed
go
into
pretty
that
soon here.
territory. Okay, you have to go soon. Yeah, and sorry
You
if I
just go.
cut you off. There's a little delay
That's okay.
between our videos, or between the audio. So if I was cutting you off, I did
Okay.
not mean to. Yeah,
That's
yeah,
okay. No, I think we're good. We're good. We're doing great. All right.
cool. So thank you for sharing all that, and let's we'll maybe even next week or something, but we'll be in touch. We'll meet privately about some of the teacher training stuff.
Okay.
Um, And
No, I think
then let's,
body workers, massage therapists, somatic experience people are definitely going to benefit from this work. This is the work to be embodied so that you bring your whole self to this precious person that's on your table. And my work has shifted in that I'm not there to just like integrate your body, your muscles, and your tissues. We're not just integrating your structure, right? We're bringing your breath into your body. We're bringing your mind and your body experience to the table. I have to stop a lot of my clients who have this habit of like, oh, so tell me what's been going on and like for the whole 75 to 90-minute session. And I'm like, okay, we
yeah,
got to stop so you can breathe. We got to breathe.
yeah.
We got to get the breath of
Beautiful
life in there.
stuff. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much,
Yeah.
Diedra, and I really appreciate you coming on. And we'll do another one of these, but then we'll find a way or
Okay.
place where you'll have solid internet, and we can cover some of these things in some more depth as well. I think that'll be
Yeah.
fun.
Great. Okay, cool. All right.
Cool.
It's been fun. Yeah.
All right.
Appreciate
Thanks
you.
for coming on. Talk to you again
Yep.
soon. You as well.
Okay.
Enjoy.
Bye.
Okay, folks. So you heard it here. Very soon, if you are a body worker or a massage therapist or a somatic therapist or coach or anything, I will be creating a little package, sort of a beginner's initiation for somatic therapists and all the other folks in that related industry. So you can test what Diedra is saying and what I've been promoting. You can test this with your clients. And I'd even include hospice workers, nursing home workers, make a note here. Yeah, hospice workers, nursing home workers, all of those different types of professions and work in the mix, because imagine you're sitting with someone who's confronting a terminal situation, and then they can do face stretches, they can start to laugh, they can start to feel embodied again, they can be present, even in an existential and physical pain situation. This stuff is absolutely mind-blowing. And I just want to reiterate at the end here, for anyone listening or watching, this work is not about adding something new to you. This is not about self-development. This is not about personal development, though it will make your connections with other people better, simply because you'll be present and you'll be able to be honest and connected with yourself and with them. Your mind will be where your body is. So many people don't know how to experience that presence, don't know how to be there with another person, listening, giving eye contact, the basics, okay? But this work is about undoing the false, undoing the chronic tension in the body, ridding yourself of the static of the mind by grounding your awareness where the body is, okay? Grounding what's going on in the mind in the same location as the body. And then the truth will reveal itself to you. The truth hasn't gone anywhere, okay? That's what truth is. It's true. It's always true. It's universally true. It's only the false and the hell of the mind that gets in the way, okay? So this work is about undoing the false, and then you will automatically start to behold what is true. And then from there, you can proceed. You can start to clean up your worldview. You can start to make sure that your life is coherent, okay, on this deep worldview level. And from there, people are not going to be able to take advantage of you. You're not going to get lost into some kind of long-winded, self-development or New Age spiritual BS, okay? You'll be able to see right through it. You'll be able to cut right through it and have a much better life in the face of the inevitable suffering, in the face of the inevitable challenges, okay? And I've called that becoming a celebrationist. You'll be able to remember and look out upon your life with a sense of celebration no matter what is happening, okay? A sense of celebration of whatever it is that God happens to be doing in life. That, my friend, is the gold standard. That is the aim here. Okay? That's what we're here to do. So with that, I will say, God, look, I'm playing with some little thing, fidgeting this whole time. So that's what we're here to do. Stay present. Cut through the BS. the tension in the body, the static in the mind. Get some clarity. Get some presence. Start to deeply listen to what's actually going on around and within you and within the other people in your life. And to rekindle that sense of celebration of whatever happens. As Dr. High used to say, seize however high in a bountiful journey. So I'll leave you with that. Much love, and we'll talk to you guys again soon. You can look forward to tomorrow, if the Lord is willing and the Drava River doesn't flood. We'll be back for Transcendence Thursdays, and we're going to have some experiential experiments that you can do along with me. Again, all around that same goal, coming back home to the body, overcoming the suffering, the fake suffering of the mind, and then becoming a celebrationist. So much love. God bless and enjoy. See you soon.